Welcome to RTB, the podcast for aviation geeks, made by aviation geeks. In today's episode, the A-10 Warthog that landed with no canopy and the gear up.
When it comes to surviving the impossible in aviation, there's a saying that any landing you can walk away from is a good one. But what about landing a 21-ton aircraft with no canopy, no landing gear, and winds whipping through your cockpit at 374 miles per hour?
You know, that's what makes this story so incredible. It wasn't just about surviving, it was about making aviation history. No one had ever landed an A-10 Warthog in these conditions before.
The fascinating part is how it all started as just another training day. Captain Brett DeVries was doing his 300th-something practice run, dropping dummy bombs and firing that famous 30mm cannon. You know, the one so powerful it actually slows the plane down when it fires?
And that's exactly where everything went sideways, right? The gun malfunctioned during his second pass, and then, boom, the canopy just explodes off the aircraft?
Right, and here's where it gets intense. He's flying at 325 knots, barely 150 feet off the ground, when suddenly the wind catches his helmet with such force that it slams his head back into the seat. He described it like getting sucker punched, but I'd say that's putting it mildly.
Well, what's remarkable is how quickly his training kicked in. Even while partially dazed, he managed to climb to 2,000 feet to buy himself some thinking time.
And thank goodness his wingman, Major Shannon Vickers, was there. You know what made this partnership particularly unique? Vickers wasn't just any pilot. He'd actually started his career as an A-10 maintenance specialist.
So he basically had both the pilot's perspective and the mechanic's knowledge? That must have been invaluable when they were trying to figure out what to do next.
Exactly. And they needed every bit of that expertise because the problems just kept piling up. First the main radio dies, then the backup fails, and meanwhile all his maps and checklists are turning into confetti in the cockpit.
And let's not forget about the landing gear situation. When they tried to lower it, the nose gear got stuck halfway down. That's when they had to make that crucial decision to bring it all back up and attempt something that had never been done before.
You know what's fascinating about the A-10's design? Those main landing gear wheels are partially exposed even when retracted. It's a combat survival feature. The engineers who designed it probably never imagined it would save an aircraft in this particular way.
The coordination between these two pilots during the landing was just extraordinary. Vickers basically became DeVries' external instrument panel, calling out altitude and airspeed while watching for any problems while coming back to the base.
And all of this while DeVries is fighting against this constant hurricane-force wind trying to push his head back. The physical demands alone must have been incredible. But here's what really gets me. He managed to put that aircraft down in what witnesses described as a near textbook landing.
Speaking of which, there's actually video footage of this landing. Can you imagine being one of those pilots on the ground watching this unfold?
The aftermath really tells us something about both the A-10 and military aviation training. The aircraft, despite taking this incredible beating, was repairable and eventually returned to service. And DeVries? He kept emphasizing how it was all about the training. Those endless practice sessions that sometimes seem repetitive suddenly proved their worth.
You know what's interesting? This incident really showcases why the A-10 has such a legendary reputation for toughness. I mean, what other aircraft could take this kind of punishment and still be fixable?
And that's really the bigger lesson here. It's this perfect storm of human skill, engineering excellence, and teamwork all coming together in a crisis. Even in our age of advanced technology and automated systems, there's still no substitute for well-trained professionals who can think on their feet when everything goes wrong.
Well, I guess that old saying about any landing you can walk away from being a good one needs an update. Sometimes it's also a piece of aviation history.
And that's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about surviving an emergency. It's about how preparation, teamwork, and engineering can come together to achieve something that's never been done before. In aviation, as in life, sometimes the impossible becomes possible when all these elements align perfectly.
Thanks for stopping by, friends. See you soon in the next episode of RTB. Happy landings.